Let me know if you relate to any of these. The first thing you look at when you pick up a food is the calories. When you're planning your day, you budget in a dessert or a treat meal. You get invited to go out to dinner and you research the calories on the menu ahead of time. And you get stressed if you can't calculate the calories in a meal or if you go over your target for the day. I spent a long time going through that cycle, but eventually I said enough. So this is why I stopped counting calories, what I do instead, and how I made the switch. This is totally just my perspective and my personal experience, so you can continue to count calories, you can find another way, you can really do whatever you want. You know your body and your mind the best, but this is how I went about it in case you are not sure how to stop once you've been doing it for a long time. So here are a few reasons why I stopped calorie counting. Number one, it's just really hard to accurately track, and that can cause stress in itself. Even if you're using a food scale and an app like MyFitnessPal, you'll see a lot of variation within the same app just depending on the source. And so I ended up feeling like, what's the point if it's not even necessarily tracking correctly? Another reason is that food companies can legally have a 20% margin of error on their food labels, and that can be pretty significant if you're shooting for specific targets. So again, it just ended up feeling like I don't even know if what I'm recording is accurate, and so what is the point of having such specific targets if I may be 20% off? The third reason is that focusing so much on the numbers of the calories and the macronutrients really detracts from the two focuses that I feel are more important for food, and that is nutritive value and satisfaction and enjoyment. And lastly, along these same lines, I found it really stressful and I wasn't really in tune with when I was full and hungry. I was kind of just going off of what I had planned out in MyFitnessPal so that I could make sure to hit my targets, but sometimes I would eat when I wasn't hungry just because it said that that's what the next thing I was supposed to eat was. And other times I would totally not be satisfied, but I wouldn't eat more because I felt that I would go over my limit for the day. And that stress in itself can be way worse for your body than just having an extra couple hundred calories to make sure that your body is getting what it needs and to make sure that you are satiated at the end of the day. It's really not fun to have my partner come home and be like, oh, do you want to make homemade pizza or something? And for me to immediately have a stressful reaction to that instead of being excited and enjoying the experience and the process. This isn't to say that tracking is all bad, and I do think for some people it can be a valuable tool in the very beginning when you're learning about just what food is made of and how it can serve you in different ways. Like, what does protein do for your body? How do you feel when you have more or less? And making sure you're getting enough food, for example. But for a lot of us who have experienced disordered eating in some form or another in such a diet-centric society, I think that it can be a really slippery slope when you begin focusing on the numerical values of your food instead of the nutrition that's in it and how satisfied you are. So I really do find that, even if I take a year off of tracking and then I just think, oh, well, I want to lose a few pounds, so I'm going to start again just until I reach that goal, my mindset immediately goes into this very negative space, and I just have found that it's not worth it to me to put myself through that anymore. And it's really not necessary no matter what your goal is. So here's what I like to do instead to stay in tune with my body. I talked about a couple of these in my How to Lose Weight Without Losing Your Mind video. So the first one is eat when I'm hungry. I will never deprive myself intentionally of food when I could have something to satisfy my hunger. And along the same lines, when I'm full, I try to stop. That doesn't always happen, especially if I'm enjoying a really amazing meal at a restaurant or I'm at a celebration. I'm not going to just cut it off, but in general, 95% of the time, I try to just stop when I'm at a good level and know that I can always go back and get more out of the fridge, or I can have my leftovers later. So it's not like it's going away. I just try to take myself out of that deprivation mentality and know that I will allow myself to eat if I get hungry again. And it's as simple as that. And similarly, I've really learned to embrace the times when food is not just about fuel or about, reaching a certain goal. I love the times when food is about enjoyment or social time or nostalgia. And those are so important to living a balanced life as well. It has also helped me to have some nutritional knowledge, so you don't need to become a dietitian just to be aware of the different combinations of macronutrients, micronutrients that might make you feel the best. So it's good to be aware of, how much fiber is in certain things, or what foods contain high protein content. So I would encourage you to just do some baseline educating yourself, and that way you don't have to just pick up a food every time you're at the store and look at the label really intensely, but having an idea of what different foods are made up of can help you figure out what is going to make you feel satisfied and full, instead of just kind of winging it all the time and being like, well, this doesn't work to listen to my body because I'm never satiated, or I'm hungry all the time, or I'm just not enjoying my food even though I'm really full. So it does take some time, but it's definitely worth it. So here's how I transitioned away from counting calories to just completely listening to my body. It didn't happen in just, one overnight flip of the switch. It did take a few steps for me, and these may help you, or you may have other ideas. First, figure out why you're calorie counting. Maybe you have a very specific goal, and this is the best way that you know of to reach that goal. It could be losing a few pounds of fat, or it could be gaining muscle or strength, or running a marathon. For these purposes, my previous tips still apply, so listening to your body's cues and getting a general knowledge of the composition of foods. And one thing you could do if you have a sports-related goal, for example, you could isolate just maybe protein or just carbs. And if you're worried that you're not getting enough of something, you can just track that on a piece of paper. So let's say you eat a bowl of lentils, or you eat a burger, or you have a protein bar. You can just look up what's in that serving that you're having, write it down, and don't put it in a tracker. Just add it up manually on your phone at the end of the day. And then you'll just get an idea of that macronutrient total, and maybe you realize that you really could up your protein if you're looking to gain some muscle mass, or whatever it may be, but that way you're not getting like a calorie count total that could be triggering in other ways, and it's not really what your main concern is. The third common reason why I counted calories, and why many of you may, is because you feel that you might be out of control if you stop. If you can relate to this, then number one, it's always helpful to see a registered dietitian or a doctor if you're worried about your specific needs, and if there's especially a mindset component that goes with it, where you're really worried about fearing gaining weight, or fearing loss of control, or whatever it may be for you. They can really help you with some more tailored guidance. The next thing I would recommend doing is doing whatever you can to get in tune again with what your body needs, rather than what your MyFitnessPal or Chronometer is telling you. This can be so hard when food rules have been guiding our lives for some of us years, whether you're intermittent fasting, or you're just used to tracking your calories and going off of what the app is telling you, or you have a cutoff time when you stop eating at nighttime because you're afraid that eating past that will make you store fat. It can be really hard to let go of all of that and then just go internally and say, okay, what is my body actually saying? So do be patient, and what I like to do as an in-between step is track your foods in a way that get you more in tune with how you're feeling, rather than giving you numbers that go along with each meal. So you can either use a food journal. I will link one that I've made that helps you record what you're feeling before and after, and then help you maybe see patterns in how frequently you get hungry, or whether a food was satiating or not for you. Another really convenient tool that I've liked in the past is an app called ATE, A-T-E. And this app lets you set a goal. So mine was just to feel happy and healthy. And I could either write down in notes form the foods that I ate, and what time. And what I really like about the app is that it also gives you the option to just record a picture in case you don't feel like writing everything down. And it gives you prompts to record things like, how were you feeling? Were you full? Did you eat sitting down? Were you at your work desk? Were you with other people? And it can really help you identify maybe some patterns that are preventing you from being mindful at your meals or from feeling fully satisfied. Part of intuitive eating is just collecting data on yourself and getting to know what works best for you and your body and what makes you thrive. So one thing that I learned during this process, I learned that I tend to get hungry every 3 hours or so. And the way that I've put this into use is if I know that I'm going to be out for an extended period of time, I'll bring a snack or I'll eat a little bit past my satiety beforehand, knowing that it's going to last me longer. And that's really the key to all of this. Lastly, while you're going through this process especially, I would recommend deleting the apps like MyFitnessPal that can be really tempting to keep around and have just as a fallback. And similarly, I would just not follow people or blogs that include calorie counts or have an excessive focus on counting calories, because it can just easily slip you back into that mindset of, oh wait, this is working for them, or it appears that it's working for them, or this recipe is telling me that a serving size is only one tiny cookie. And then it just gets you away from doing that internal work and research that you need to succeed long term. Whatever you decide to do, I just encourage you to ask whether you feel that it's sustainable for years to come. And I really found that what I was doing, I didn't want to be doing that when I'm 40, 50, 60, 70. So why not just start now to figure out what my body is saying, and then have those tools and those skills to just eat intuitively for the rest of my life and have so much less stress, enjoy food, enjoy my life, and have a balanced, healthy lifestyle. If you want to stop tracking calories, let me know what's holding you back, or let me know what you need more help on, because I would be really happy to do a more in-depth video on any specific aspect of the challenges.